Everybody, how are we doing? I'm going to try to check and see if I can even tell if you can hear me or not. So stand by here for me for a second because I am trying blizzard coverage live on YouTube. It appears. Oh, see, I can hear it on my other phone. Oh, I'm going to move this way. See, this is what happens when you try to do your own YouTube channel, blizzard coverage here in the Pacific Northwest where we don't usually get this kind of snow. I don't know if you can see it behind me, but it's coming down pretty hard for Seattle. We don't really get this kind of snow, and I figured, you know what? I'm not working, and normally I would just be standing on television looking like I was getting blown away to Oz. So why not just do it on YouTube? And then I decided, well, why don't I talk about why I do YouTube at all instead of just television? Because here I am, like kind of a insane person standing out in 25-degree weather with snow coming down on me when I have a day off. Why would I do this? It sounds crazy, doesn't it? Well, I will tell you why I do this because uh, you're here. I have no idea who's watching because I can't see it. Usually I see it on my computer, but now I just have my little other cell phone here. So I may just be talking to myself out here, and that's fine. I'm sure my neighbors think I'm crazy. They already have thought that about me. This is nothing new. This is our Airstream. As you can see, she has been suffering through the last couple rounds of snow over the last week, and we're expected to get some more this week. So who knows if you'll even recognize her by the next trailer talk. And it's really cold for this area. Typically, actually, people think it would snow a lot in the Seattle area because we're way up near Canada. But the truth is that it doesn't snow here very often. It just typically rains. So when it gets cold enough for there to be snow, and not just snow, but like we literally have lots of snow. See, we have enough for snowballs. We have maybe a foot of snow here. That's just unheard of in the last 5 years that I've lived in Seattle. So anyway, I wanted to do a live trailer talk. I try doing them every Sunday. I didn't get one in last Sunday, but I wanted to take the opportunity to do this to give you a look at the trailer, a look at the snow. You may be seeing this big storm on the news, so you can see it firsthand as it's happening right now. But I also felt like this was a good chance to just really quickly talk about why I do YouTube at all, when typically, like, my career has been just standing in snowstorms like this on mainstream television. And I still do stand on mainstream television in snowstorms. I just did it on Monday, but I'm doing it on YouTube because I believe that this is not just the future, it's the present. This is where the people are. And I was just speaking on a panel at the University of Washington for um, students and scientists who are interested in environmental communication, science and communication. I'm an environmental journalist, so I specialize in. And they asked, one of the kids in the class saw that I had a YouTube channel and asked why I do YouTube. I mean, there's certainly plenty to do with my job itself, just flat out for my television job. So this is a huge undertaking. Why bother doing it? And I have a couple reasons for that. The first is that I really like shooting video and editing video, so it's kind of fun to work on other projects outside of the stuff that I do for work. We have this Airstream, so we wanted to be able to show people what we were doing to renovate it because we thought that might help us. Sort of build a community of people who could give us advice and we could share our adventures with. As you've seen, and maybe in other videos, we really believe in people taking responsibility for their own actions and trying to carve out a better future for their families and their communities. And if we want to tell other people to do it, we better do it ourselves. That's another reason. It's just kind of the just taking responsibility for our own future and our own lives, and trying to create something like a homestead. Materially, that's what we want, and we're building this homestead. But we also just metaphorically, it's an adventure to represent sort of the American dream of making a better future than for your community than maybe what they have, and letting your life go towards something bigger than just yourself. So anyway, there are plenty of other videos we've done on that. But right now, back to what I was talking about. I was on this panel at the University of Washington. I'm talking to these students. They ask why I have a YouTube channel. those are the sort of separate reasons. But what I told them was that I really believe that where we're at now with mainstream media is that um, there's been a buildup of distrust of journalists like myself in mainstream news. Not because necessarily I deserve it, but because I've had people, there are people in my industry who have not necessarily done us any favors with keeping and gaining the trust of the public. And I don't think I'm speaking out of line to say that over the last 15 to 20 years, mainstream news has not necessarily built up a trust relationship with the public, whether it's by um, actual just bias that is meant and meant to be there and is part of just the delivery, or just subtle bias that leaks into it because of a multitude of different reasons, or just not taking the time to make sure that your reports are accurate. We've had many examples over the last couple weeks even where there have been stories out there that were not vetted, where people did not watch videos to their entirety, did not read reports to their entirety, and then they just go with it. It's kind of the age of social media where you report something quickly because you want to be first, but um, maybe in that rush to get something out there, you have sacrificed accuracy, and with that have sacrificed the trust of the public. So I told them that I do YouTube because I've started to realize that people have done to me what we used to do with those Mad Libs. I mean, when I think I was in like middle school when Mad Libs were really popular, those stories where you like filled in the verb and the adjective and the noun. They like give you a few paragraphs and you filled in these things and you came up with funny stories because you put in these words in the blanks. And I feel like that's kind of what people, I started to notice folks would do to me, like depending on where I lived or what stories I was covering or the people I interviewed or just a whole lots of assumptions that they would make about me based on all kinds of things that just were not true. And I realized like there's two kind of ways of looking at it. And one of the journalists is on the panel with me questioned whether like this in this hostile environment you would want to put anything out there about yourself because people can use all kinds of things to tear you down and make you look like you're one thing or another that is or is not true. The way I look at it is we're kind of in this new era of media where the kind of trust building and relationship that the public wants to have with somebody who's giving them information requires a lot more transparency. And that doesn't necessarily always mean that you give your opinion. It just means that people feel like they know you a little bit more, where they're not filling in the blanks like the Mad Libs, which can kind of create it's just like a projection of whatever the person wants to think of you. And then in those cases, they can or cannot write you off just based on stuff that may or may not even be true. The way I'm starting to look at it is if people are going to fill in the blank anyway, then I'm just going to fill in the blank for them. I want to have the opportunity to say, okay, I'm Allison. I have an Airstream. These are the ideals that the Airstream represents. These are the things my husband and I stand for. You don't have to know everything about me. That would be ridiculous. But certain things that represent who I am and what I stand for as a person, what my values are. I don't think there's anything wrong with sharing that with the public. And it used to be 60 years ago. I really think this is a reflection of where psychology was at the time and just the way people thought of reality and truth. Is that Freud used to say that you could have a psychologist who was like a total objective, a blank screen. That's what he would call it. And then the client would come in and project their reality onto the therapist, and the therapist would reflect it back to the person. And the idea was that the therapist could just show the person what their reality really was, but without any interference from the therapist. And 100 years after that, now we're realizing that it's kind of impossible, that whenever there's an exchange of ideas or information, there's always going to be some kind of influence. There's no way to really get away from it. So is it possible for a journalist to show all sides and then every once in a while say, this is what I think about it, but you know what, here's all of it, and I'll just give you the not cut corners on it, take the time to read and be accurate. maybe every once in a while share your opinion, or even before that particular story that you're covering, people have come to trust you for a variety of different reasons because they feel like they've gained a relationship with you that's beyond the story that you're covering itself. And I think as an environmental journalist, I have all kinds of different people who are looking to me for information, and they may really not agree on a whole lot. And I see my Facebook page devolving all the time depending on the topic, and I wonder, like, how is it that these conversations happen? In some cases, they're really mean, and I don't think if these people talk to each other face to face that they would be like this. I think the reason is because they're not speaking face to face, and there's no relationship, so they just say mean things because there's no consequence, and you're not hurting anyone's feelings because you don't know them. And so what I try to do with YouTube, and the reason I got on it, besides the fact that I just feel like this is the future, this is where the audience is going, is because I want to start having real relationships with people. So A, when we say something some that matters, so we're not just like typing angry words at somebody who we've never met before. This is a new way of relationship building, and I think building a relationship with people who look to you for information, in my case information about the environment, is really important because I don't want people to think that I have some kind of ulterior motive or agenda other than really giving you the truth. And hey, if I can give you an opportunity to see a little bit about where I'm coming from, and you say, hey Allison, check that, maybe that's a bias coming through, or that, great, then we at least have a conversation going through. It's not just a unidirectional or a one-way street. So, anyway, that's kind of a long answer, much longer than I told the students. But the reality is, like, I really believe that YouTube and new media is doing to the journalism landscape um, what translating the Bible into the vernacular, into local languages, did for religion. Um, back when the Bible was only in Latin, you could really only access what it said through people who could read it. And that meant that there were all kinds of things that made it out into the public knowledge that may or may not have been actually accurate to the Bible. So all of a sudden, the 16th century comes around, and now the Bible is translated into all these different languages, Italian, German, and people can start reading it for themselves, and they're like, whoa, I had no idea that was in there. And now it totally restructures authority on truth, authority on salvation, authority on all kinds of things. That's why you see all kinds of different churches pop up. And there's a risk, obviously, to opening up freedom of truth and dialogue, but there's so much more reward there. And so I'm really excited about where we are. I honestly have no idea if I'm even still live right now on on this channel because it could have just frozen because of the cold. But if I am still on it, I am really excited about where we're headed because I think it is opening up so much opportunity to really think critically about the world around us. It has really taken, like I said, like the Bible, it's kind of taken information and truth. In my case, journalism, truth about politics or whatever else it is, from a few people at the top of a food chain that had a lot of power for a long time, and it's handed it to the people. And I think in some cases we're starting to see some animosity and some pushback because not everybody likes the fact that the people now have direct access to the truth, or in some cases what's fake, and it's up to them now. It's their responsibility to really sift through it to figure out what's true and what's not true. So there's perhaps more responsibility on the public now to really figure out what's going on. At the same time, there probably always was that responsibility, and we just left it up to a few people to decide for us for right or wrong. And so in this case, maybe the responsibility hasn't changed, but we can see the effects of not fulfilling that responsibility much faster. There's more opportunity to just see how bad things can get when we get it wrong, how quickly we can create these I call it the mobocracy. It's like just these outrage moments where we all jump on something and maybe we got it right and maybe we didn't get it right. And so there's a lot more responsibility on us now that you can create this chaos and this craze, but there's also more freedom and opportunity to not do that, to start being a critical thinker who can look for opinions and truth outside of what was just handed to us for so many years. I like straddling both worlds because I like being able to still have the opportunity to talk to the mainstream audience, but I really like having the opportunity to share more about who I am and what I'm about, and give people the opportunity to agree or disagree or like me or not like me, but at least they know me. And if they know me, then we're starting to move forward in a way that I feel like we've kind of stopped moving forward as a culture and a society in so many ways. If you look at how people consume mainstream media now, in a lot of cases, it's so polarizing that you hear this word echo chamber come up a lot. And people just listen to what they want to listen to, and of course, that happens on social media too. But we now have the opportunity to find so many different voices, and it's just been so inspiring and enlightening for me as a journalist who used to maybe have like 4 options to now have thousands of options. And there are people now that I feel like they don't know who I am, but they are mentors for me who I look up to, who have opened access to information that is starting to change the way that I look at the world around me, and I look at my work, and I look at my friends, and I look at adversaries. I look at everything differently because I've been challenged in ways that I never was challenged before. Kinda like the Airstream, because I have no idea how to refurbish an Airstream. My husband, Lynn, does, but he works, out of town a lot, which is what he's doing right now. So we're a little, I don't know if we're necessarily behind on the Airstream, but we're definitely not close to being done. But the point with the Airstream is to also go on this sort of, you know, take the take the responsibility and the, I don't know if it's power, but just the creativity, the truth from, the hands of the few who would like do everything for us, make our food for us, grow our food, build houses, do all this, and do it ourselves. And that's kind of like what's happening here with YouTube and new media versus mainstream media. It's like everybody can do it. Anybody can have their own channel. Everybody should. Why not? Well, let's hear from you. What do you have to offer the world? I mean, it's just such an exciting time to talk to people that you may have never met before. And though it does have the opportunity, I guess, in a negative way, to push us all into more narrow realms where we're only listening to what we want to listen to. I think it always was that way. Maybe it's just made it easier for that. But it's like the risk of that comes with this great reward of just like a whole new world of information and relationships and ability to change things for the better. Just like, we can change things for the worse with the more technology we have. There's never been a greater opportunity um to go on a self on an adventure of the self, where you can learn more about who you are, be challenged by other people's ideas. And as a journalist, if you're not starting to get into this world where free speech is so hotly debated, there could not be a more this is sort of ground zero for where free speech and censorship, that whole debate is happening, because this has become the public forum. And I'm fascinated by how many people in mainstream news don't know this whole other world of censorship and free speech battles that are happening on new media, which is where the majority of people are headed to get the information that shapes their entire world. It shapes the way they vote. That shapes the way they buy whatever it is that they buy. I mean, this is a place where anybody who cares about information and free speech should be going every day to figure out how they can participate in keeping that dialogue open, because that's what makes America so great. I'm going to check my phone and see what's going on. It does appear that I am still live, so that's good. Anyway, guys, it's cold, and maybe I'll take you on a little tour of the yard so you can see how much snow there is. Um, so I really appreciate your watching and everybody who's been supporting my channel and my husband and I as we do this Airstream. And I don't know, that's really all I got to say. Just the fact that I think if you're a journalist and you're wanting a new adventure and a new challenge, and what you care about more than anything is reaching the public, and you're not somebody who necessarily, I don't even know I don't know. I didn't go to journalism school. I was a history major, which helped me think very critically about the world around me. I got a Master of Divinity degree in psychology and counseling. I never knew the rules to break. So I just have always looked at, when it comes to sort of traditionalists. I've never been a traditionalist because I never knew what their rules were. So I'm kind of a-traditional in the sense that doing a live stream on YouTube is totally cool with me. Whereas I think maybe some people in my field would say like this is way too much, too much transparency, that you need to be, like I said, like when I was talking about Freud, you need to be a little bit more distanced from the people who are getting information from you. I think that age is dead. I think the age of pretending to be some kind of objective spectator in the world with no personality, no past, no thoughts, nothing. I think that that era is dead. And so it doesn't mean that the opposite extreme is probably not helpful either, where all you do is just show your side and give your opinions all the time and never allow for other critical thoughts in there. There's probably a happy medium, which is what I'm trying to find, and that is both allowing for there to be transparency in a relationship that Allison is a part of and the community is a part of, and we're talking with each other instead of you just turning on the TV at 6 p.m. and I just tell you what's true. Like, we're helping each other critically figure that out, and I'm presenting the information to you, but you also know where I'm coming from and who I am, so you don't have to fill in those Mad Lib blanks. All right, so let's see if I can get this together. I will take you on a little tour. All right, hang on, because this is going to be fun, and I will show you. Hang on. Hang on. All right. Hang on. Okay. This is what it looks like right now. See? All of the snow. If I were on TV right now, this is what I would be doing. Probably I would be doing a snow angel. But it's a lot of snow for the Seattle area. Actually, I should get my dog Chaka because she would probably appreciate it. But running around in a couple feet of snow. But anyway, if you've ever seen those TV news reporters that are like, I'm getting blown away to Oz in the middle of the snowstorm. Like, that's what I do for a living, sort of, except for now I'm doing it on YouTube. This is our property where we rent. We're lucky. This is the old duck house right here where the ducks used to live, my landlord's ducks. And we're really lucky to have this kind of land just north of Seattle. And of course, we have the Airstream over there. I'll show you the Airstream with the snow, which has been kind of fun because we never get this kind of snow. So here we go. You see right here. All right. This is what it looks like. Lots of snow. Lots of snow. And as you can see, and you see in there, probably not. But she's coming along. We're going to get her done. We're hoping we'll get her done by the end of the year. And I don't even think if I tried to open the lock right now that it would work because it's frozen shut. Okay, everybody.